Hello, this is day 8, if I'm not wrong. Yes. Um, okay, I think I'm going to rewatch the video we watched yesterday. This one. Did we watch this one? I don't remember. Okay, you know what? Actually, I want to farm better, so how to farm in video games. There was a video that was called like Farm Like Chovy or something like that. Yeah, this one. I'm curious about this one. It's 4 years old, but I don't think it matters. Am I muted? No. Um, yeah, so I'm just gonna watch that one, I guess. And then, I don't know. I just want to gain knowledge. That's it. But I cannot hear it. Why? Oh, okay, now I mute myself.
Regardless of what, Chovy is without a doubt the king of farming in all of League of Legends. Time and time again, he's out farming every single player he goes up against, regardless of what he's playing or what matchup he's in. Absurd numbers like 250 CS at 20 minutes are commonplace for him in competitive play, and a big reason why he's regarded as one of, if not the best mid laners in the world. Of course, we don't play in the LCK, but that doesn't mean that we can't learn from Chovy, since he gets insane CS numbers regularly, even in solo queue, where a ton of randomness can and does occur. This won't be a guide about being an AFK farmer who never fights or helps his team. Chovy's goal in solo queue is to limit test, and he definitely runs it down a lot during his games. And yet, he can have 5 deaths and he'll have more CS than everyone in the game. He's in no way AFK in his side lane the whole game doing nothing. He's constantly either grouping with his team or looking for fights while easily maintaining 10 CS per minute. There's no way we can teach you how to be this good at League of Legends, but we can share some of the easy tips to apply that Chovy utilizes all the time in order to get your CS numbers up significantly. So let's get into it. First though, here's our question of the day. What's your most hated meta champion? Mine is definitely Qiyana. Ever since that one-trick demolished Faker in a solo queue game, I've seen her so much more than before. There's nothing more frustrating than getting rooted, into wall stunned, into an execute that one-shots you from 100% HP. It feels like every little mistake is a death sentence against this champ. But what do you guys hate playing against? What nerfs are you hoping for? Let us know in the comments below, as we find it very interesting to know what everyone hates playing against in their games. Anyway, moving on. When it comes to CSing, the first thing to talk about is just scoring last hits. Unfortunately, this is something you have to practice for yourself. Each champion is unique with their auto animations, attack speeds, spell damage, etc. It's on you to learn how to farm as efficiently as possible on each unique character that you play in every matchup you go up against. This is not easy, and part of the reason why Chovy is so successful. That being said, there are some tips that we can cover that Chovy always applies, which can help you come out with a bit more CS during the lane, regardless of what you're playing or your mastery on that champion. First up is something very basic, but if you're not doing it, you'll immediately increase how many last hits you score. When possible, you should simply try to kill the enemy caster minions before all the enemy melee minions die. Chovy does this quite frequently, as any good mid laner should. By killing the caster minions first, you guarantee that you're going to get the last hits on all of them, since your own minions are still hitting the enemy melees. It's not something that you should do all the time, but if you're not under pressure in any way, then we suggest doing so. Secondly, Chovy loves playing incredibly aggressive in lane. Now, most professional players do this since solo queue is generally just a mode where they can limit test, but there is a neat advantage when it comes to CSing by playing very far up in the lane. If you're playing very in your opponent's face, near their tower, then the advantage that you gain is that you can begin killing the wave before it ever collides with your own. Just like the caster killing tip, it basically guarantees that you score every CS in the wave, since it will either only briefly touch your own wave or not get touched by it at all. This is just a really simple way of making sure that you don't miss any minions, since yours will never be in range to take them. Of course, there is also obviously a downside to doing this. By playing so aggressively, you're prone to getting ganked, right? Absolutely, but as we said, that's a risk Chovy is willing to take a lot of the time. He generally feels very comfortable outplaying and evading ganks. But even he's not perfect. Sometimes he makes mistakes and gets caught out. That being said, dying while you play aggressively is actually not that bad when it comes to keeping your farm up. We've touched on this before when talking about players like Caps, but notice that while he died, Chovy only missed a single wave to his tower. As he spawned, he managed to get back in time to catch the next one. By playing as aggressively as this, you'll never miss big chunks of minions, even when you do mess up and die. Despite that misplay, Chovy is still miles ahead of anyone in CS since he's scoring every single last hit possible. As a quick reminder, if you want to improve fast and get the rank you've always wanted, then check out our hyper improvement system at skillcap.com. We have professional courses by top players, Smurf commentaries where a challenger player walks you through how to climb out of every rank from iron to diamond, and we upload tons of new exclusive guides to our website every week. In fact, we're so confident that you'll improve using our system that if you don't climb at least 5 divisions while actively using Skillcap, you can claim a full refund, so there's no risk. What are you waiting for? Check out skillcap.com and get the rank that you've always wanted. Link in the description below. Alright, those previous tips are going to help you CS a bit more during the early lane, but when it comes to getting 10 CS per minute, your actions during the mid and late game matter a bit more than during the early laning phase. One of the immediate things that you want to do, which many of us know to do, is simply to take your own jungler's camps whenever possible. Of course, Chovy will have an inherent advantage over you when it comes to this. He's Chovy. Imagine flaming Chovy. Any jungler who says anything to him is going to get flamed back by the rest of his team. Imagine taking both the blue buff and Gromp in front of your jungler's face as they're pathing towards the area. Spam pinging will most definitely ensue a lot of the time if you're to try this. So that's definitely not how you take jungle camps from your jungler most of the time. You should just look for opportunities where your jungler is on the other side of the map, making a play and not pathing toward one of the camps near you. For example, if you see your jungler committing to a brush play in bottom, then they 100% don't care if you move on over to take their raptors. They'll be up again by the time that they get there anyway. It's very easy to find windows of opportunity to do this. In this particular game, as Chovy chases for a kill, his jungler isn't alive yet from the previous fight. It's fine to take every little camp you can find when your jungler isn't going to get them anyway. It's very unlikely that you get flamed doing it this way, unless your jungler's already tilted, which in that case, they were going to flame anyway. Okay, everything up until now is a basic of accelerating your farm. But there's some less obvious strategies that you'll want to incorporate into your macro to farm like Chovy. Let's introduce this following concept as a question. Imagine that there's 2 available plays for you to make on the map. In bot lane, your Aurelia is being shoved in by a Jax, whom you could rotate over to kill. You also happen to see that the enemy jungler seems to be power farming. They'll likely be making their way over to the red side jungle soon. You could potentially set up in a brush and kill them as they walk in. If the likelihood that both of these plays will work is around the same, then which one would you choose? Okay.
The shortest one.
So what Chovy tries to do very often is make choices where his aggressive plays are going to lead him to secure more sources of farm. We believe that the jungle play might be a little better in terms of getting you more CS. If you set up here and kill the enemy jungler, then afterwards, you're free to take their entire jungle for yourself, since you'll have direct access to it by being in the area already. If you were to go bottom to kill Jax, then you'll encounter an annoying problem. The Aurelia is likely going to want to keep pushing bottom. As the split pusher, she definitely might get upset if you stick around and try to take waves. Let's show you what we mean in a real game. During this Tristana match, Chovy was finishing pushing out his wave when he notices a skirmish going on in top. He makes his way there, taking the honey fruit on his path to restore some resources. He manages to get up there and clean up a kill in return for his Senna's life. Now, the point is that even if Senna lived, Chovy would have priority for this farm, since he'd likely easily steal all of it from Senna as she's so terrible at last hitting. Regardless of what happened here, there was an incoming source of farm for him to acquire. Therefore, he's both being proactive on the map while maintaining his CS. We see a similar situation a couple of minutes later. Renekton is playing very aggressively in bottom, so Chovy rotates over to kill him. Remember our example from before? In this case, it would have been fine for Chovy even if Senna lived. She's going to go toward middle anyway, as Tristana is obviously the champion who should stay down here split pushing. Regardless of the outcome, Chovy's rotation allowed him to both make a play and acquire a new source of farm. He picked up countless waves in bottom and the enemy tower, since he knew killing the enemy side laner would give him precious time to farm alone down here. Alright, our final tip for this guide is something Chovy is incredibly consistent with. He will almost always push out his side waves before joining his team whenever possible. This isn't a new concept, but perhaps a different way of looking at the situation. The problem a lot of people face is that they don't trust their teammates enough to not run it down while they push out a wave. It creates what we could call the solo queue tax. If you're always responding to every little thing going on and not trusting your team to fend for themselves, you're going to fall more and more behind in CS. Sometimes it's best to avoid paying your taxes in League of Legends. Most of the time, Chovy treats solo queue as if he has a competitive team. If he's able to, he will push out the side wave before rotating over to join a fight. Now you may say, he can do this because he's in Korean Challenger solo queue. People are really smart there, I can't do that in my elo. But no, they're not. They're just as blind and dumb as your teammates most of the time. Look, as Chovy is finishing pushing out the wave, his own teammates are dying defending a tower that wasn't defendable in mid. He finally teleports in, and thankfully his Gnar lands a massive ultimate to turn the fight. Chovy scores some kills and manages to get some value out of his teleport. We chose this example to highlight something critical to the way that you view the game. As Chovy is pushing down here, we're not telling you that letting you risk your team losing the game is worth pushing a single wave. If the enemy team is forcing Baron randomly, then don't just sit bottom. You should be rotating over immediately. The better mindset is that it's actually your opponent's risk to ARAM it in mid. Think about what the enemy team is actually pressuring. In this case, they're just grouping to share a goal between 5 people in mid for a single tower. Yes, 30% of the time, their risk pays off and your own team runs straight into them. But 70% of the time, their gamble is really stupid and ineffective. That 70% chance that they don't score kills is really, really bad for the enemy team. Let's keep watching and see what Chovy does to get an idea why. After the fight, he manages to pick up a Sion kill, and if you look at the minimap, it's easy to tell that the top wave is slow pushing away from his team. That's bad, so he goes and fixes it, since he knows where the rest of the enemy team is, so his health pool isn't a risk at the moment. Very briefly, if you're not aware, what we mean by fixing waves is simply pushing it into your opponent's tower. That usually creates a bounce back slow push toward your side of the map, which earns more overall farm for you in the long run. His commitment to fixing waves over the randomness of solo queue is why he's so consistent at farming. Look at what he's set up here. Both the bot and top lane waves are pushing into his team. That's less farm for the enemy team and more for him and his teammates to pick up. That's why it's not worth the risk for the enemy team. In 70% of cases, they're falling drastically behind for a gamble that isn't worth taking, and Chovy exploits this to the max. Let's be real here. This guide won't get you remotely close to being at Chovy's level. He's maintaining 10 CS per minute and scoring multiple kills against the best players in the world consistently. That being said, he does this by refining these simple fundamentals to the max. Practice makes perfect, and if you ever want to be as good as that, then this guide is a great place to start. And remember, if you want to improve fast in general and get the rank that you've always wanted, then check out skillcapped.com, link in the description below. We here at Skillcapped want to thank you for watching, and we'll catch you in the next one.
It's offering such helpful, such wonderful advice. It's one of the world's biggest games. Over 160 plus champions. Fancy skins making them completely unrecognizable. So you have just started playing League. It is a good day to be alive, man, and I am so happy that you are here. You've got 5 or 10 games under your belt so far, but things aren't really going well yet. Trust us, we know exactly what you've been going through. League's been out for 15 years, and it's one of the most competitive games in the entire world. And everyone in this community expects you to have been playing that entire time, making the new player experience honestly pretty miserable. Let's just say it outright. That's why in this video, we are going to be sharing 7 extremely simple tips to help you on your League journey. These are the tips for true beginners that are going to help you have a much better idea of what's going on in the game and how to start having more successful matches immediately. Now, our first tip definitely has to do with how nerve-wracking League can be for new players. There is so much going on the map, and everyone's pinging, everyone's typing, everyone's telling you what to do. Man, it can be overwhelming. With constant action that you're responding to, it is easy to make mistakes, dying and falling behind. So to help remedy this, here's something you should know. There is a massive difference in League between early and later game objectives. Objectives that spawn in the late game, such as Baron Nashor giving your team an insane buff to all your minions that help you push and destroy enemy towers. The Elder Dragon, which gives you a powerful execute, which, let's be honest, all but guarantees you to win any fight you take. And the Dragon Soul buff you get when you stack 4 individual dragons gives you a permanent buff that's so strong that whichever team ends up getting it tends to win the game. Now, on the other hand, the early game objectives like Void Grubs, individual early dragons, and the Rift Herald pale in usefulness by comparison. So here is one of our best bits of advice on this. It is genuinely going to be okay to not feel pressured to fight over these objectives early on. It's very common for less experienced players to overvalue them because, well, you're encouraged to prioritize anything called an objective in most video games, and you're definitely going to get constantly told by your teammates that you need to contest them in League. Players will often just fight over them even when they have no chance of winning that fight, and they just end up dying for no reason. So our tip here is really simple. Feel free to not fight over these early objectives if you don't think you can. Are you low on health? Low on mana? Is your ultimate not up? Trust your gut instinct. You're more than capable enough to make a decent decision based on what resources you currently have. Now, we know that a lot of newer players just default to following what their teammates are doing because you think others know better than you do. But trust us, your teammates, they're not any smarter than you are. So don't follow them and die for free over these early objectives. It's not worth it. Now, of course, if you do think you can fight for something, you do want to help your team. The early objectives do give okay-ish benefits that are going to help you win, but again, they're not so important that you should throw your life away over them. Now, we understand how overwhelming it can be to get into a MOBA like League. Everyone expects you to know what's going on at all times, when you don't know what a tenth of the champions in the game even do yet. And looking up guides on YouTube, let's get real, it feels almost useless. Content creators throw out League terminology, expecting everyone to know what they mean, even in guides aimed at beginners. That's why we created something we're super proud of over at Skillcapped. We have a total beginners course dedicated specifically for new players trying to get into League. Now, while this video does have some good tips to help you get started, it's nowhere near to how useful our course is. We consulted new players just like you about what they felt they needed to get into the game. We don't assume that you know anything in this course. We help build your knowledge from the ground up so you can start being competitive to play in this course. We help build your knowledge from the ground up so you can start being competitive to play with your friends or play ranked as easily as possible. This type of course exists nowhere else on the internet because after playing so long, no one in the scene has any idea what it's like to be a new player anymore. So it's almost impossible to find good advice anywhere else on the internet. And then once you get past that beginner phase, you're going to have access to our premium courses to get even better at League, if that's what you're looking to do. So if you're interested in the most effective way to get into League fast, then use the discount link below to sign up. You will not regret it. All right, and moving on. Like we said, you should not fight over objectives when you don't think you can. But how do you know when you can fight over something? Well, here's a simple guideline to follow that's really going to drastically increase how many fights you win. You should almost always look for a fight immediately after you complete a core item. This advice is really easy to follow. You just bought a finished item? Then go brawl, man. But we're going to also explain the logic behind this thought so you understand why this can be so beneficial. After your first game of League, it is obvious that building items makes you stronger, and those items are comprised of components that build into the completed form at the end. What you should understand about this is that completed items are a much bigger power spike than the components they build out of. To visualize this, think of the item components as kind of a bump in power. You're definitely getting stronger, but not by a crazy amount. On the other hand, completing an item is a much bigger bump in power, usually because they come with unique effects that are likely very powerful on your champion. Again, we just want to say, we're about to explain why this advice is good, which is going to seem a bit complicated at first, but roll with me here. But you do not need to fully understand what I'm about to say. If you don't get it, that's fine. You can still apply our tip anyway, which is just to fight after buying completed items. Here's some common outcomes that you're going to experience by following this advice. First, you might fight your opponent right before they get to complete their core item. So they're still going to be on components while you have your completed one. In this example, fighting would be great as the player has 2 core items versus 1 core and some components. This is a sizable advantage for you. The second outcome is even simpler than this. You fight after buying, but your opponent has also just bought. Having that same amount of core items makes the fight even, which is more than fair. The third example is from when you've lost early on. When playing from behind, you want to give yourself as high of a possibility to make a comeback. By fighting right after buying a core item, your opponent might still be building into their next one. So for example, if you fought right after building your second core item, your opponent could still be sitting on the components of their third one. Fighting now would still put you at a disadvantage, but it's not insurmountable. Basically, to sum this all up, you're really trying to avoid the following. If you fight after buying an item component and your opponent has just finished their next core, then you'd be at an even bigger disadvantage. You're almost guaranteed to lose that fight, which is obviously not good. Now, of course, there is a ton of nuance in this game. We get that, and following this advice, it won't win you every single fight. But as a new player, if you've got absolutely no idea of when you're strong or when you're not, or when to brawl, then just remember our core item rule and you're going to be okay. Fight right after shopping and you're much more likely to come out ahead. Okay, so skirmishing. It's something you'll definitely do a lot of in League. Many players get into the game because of a common notion that League has a lot of strategy elements. And while that's definitely true, League has moved way more towards rewarding skirmishing and fighting skill over the years. And as a result, your mechanical skill in the game, it does matter a lot. Don't be afraid by hearing this though. You don't need to be a 16-year-old who plays 10 hours a day and has amazing reflexes to perform. But you should definitely care about some of the more important concepts that will make your champion feel a lot more fluid and allow you to score more kills. The first is a super simple one that you may not be aware of if you're new to MOBAs, which is called attack moving. Basically, you're going to have a hard time playing your character. It happens if you're always trying to right-click who you want to attack. For example, let's say you're a melee character and you're trying to kite around the enemy champion to both hit them and dodge their spells. If you only use right-click, you're going to find it's really difficult to do it. You have to right-click where you want to move, then put your cursor back on your opponent, then back to where you want to move, and so on and so forth. It is very easy to mess all this up, causing you to cancel auto attacks, misclick, and so on. It's especially deadly on ranged champions that want to keep their distance. So let's say you're running away from a threatening melee champion, but you want to keep hitting them as you run away. If you right-click, walk back, and then right-click to hit them, you might misclick the ground, causing your character to walk into the enemy champion, which could absolutely get you killed, and it's probably happened to you. Instead, you should adjust the attack move keybind to fix this issue. When you press A, your cursor is going to turn red, and you're going to get an outline of your auto attack range. Then, if you left-click the ground, you're going to automatically move to where you clicked, and then hit the target closest to you. If you're already in range of someone, though, you're just going to begin auto-attacking immediately. And as you can see, this keybind lets you get away with less precise clicks. It sounds complicated. I get what I just said could sound like that, but it's so easy to do. And the best part is that it's going to make your your life infinitely easier if you're not already using this. Notice how we can hit the target in front of us without ever having to accurately click on them. Our cursor can stay horizontal the entire time by simply using a combination of regular right clicks and auto move clicks. This is a lifesaver for attack-based champions trying to kite in between auto attacks because it allows your clicks to be imprecise. Notice how, unlike in our previous example, it is much easier for the marksman to keep their range by using this technique. Their mouse is always behind them, letting them kite and hit their opponent at the exact same time without requiring much effort at all. Now, there is some tips to improve this though. Attack move technically requires 2 clicks. First A to change your cursor and bring up your range indicator, and then a left click to input the command. Now, if you want to turn this into 1 click, go into your settings, hotkeys, then open up player movement. From there, change the keybind from player attack move to player attack move click instead. This is going to make it so you only need to press that 1 keybind to attack move rather than having to left click as well. Now, this is a personal preference though. Use whichever you prefer. Another issue you may run into though is that you won't have precise target selection. Let's say you want to hit the target in the back here. The problem is attack moving automatically prioritizes whatever target is closest to you, which clearly sucks. Open up your settings, go to game, scroll down, and enable attack move on cursor. This is a pretty awesome setting where your attack will prioritize the target closest to your cursor, allowing you to control your auto attacks just a little bit more without needing extreme precision. And by the way, having the right settings makes this game so much easier to play, so if you're looking for more useful ones just like that one, then check out our settings guide right after this. So as for our next tip, it's going to make your movement even more fluid combined with attack moving. What you want to do is cancel the wind down animation of your auto attacks. You can think of your autos in 3 separate parts. The wind up animation, where your champion begins the auto attack, then the actual auto animation going off, and then the wind down, where your champion kind of just resets their weapon. This final animation, it's completely useless. All you need to know is that right after your auto attack goes off, you should input another movement command to cancel the wind down, letting you begin moving a whole lot faster. This sounds way more complicated than it really is. All you're doing is auto attacking and then immediately trying to move afterwards. Now, we'd suggest going to the training tool and getting a feel for this. Champions with high amounts of attack speed definitely benefit from mastering this concept along with attack moving. And as you can see, your champion will seem much more fluid to play by canceling that wind down animation. Now, something to note is that this timing changes based on your attack speed. So in this example, Trundle's W ability places a field on the ground, giving him a ton of attack speed while it's active. You can see that as it ran out, he ended up messing up the timing on an auto attack here. So while you're in the training pool, we definitely suggest buying various amounts of attack speed when practicing. This way you can get a better feel for how the timing is going to change as the game progresses. Trust us, this absolutely is not hard to learn either. Just spend a few minutes in the training tool and you are going to have this down in no time. So before you can even get to a new fight to use all these new skills though, you need to power through the laning phase, which involves obviously killing minions, and a lot of them. And probably the single most beneficial skill any new player can learn is being a bit more consistent in scoring the last hits on every minion. Minion Gold is by far your most reliable income in League. And to put it into perspective, on average, 15 minions is about a kill worth of gold. So if you find that you're mistiming the last hits on minions, then you're throwing tons of gold down the drain, and you need to listen up to our following tip. So later into the game, your spells do tend to destroy waves, so it's much easier to score last hits late in the game. But in lane, you're typically trying to secure each minion with your auto attack or a weak spell. To make this more consistent, pay attention to how much damage you're dealing with your autos or abilities. Keep those numbers in mind at all times. Then on last hits that you're going to be unsure about, you want to left click a minion to open up their information panel on the top left. What most players do is eyeball it and try to guess when they should last hit. But with this panel, you can wait for the minion to drop below the health threshold of your auto or spell. This way you're going to know for certain whether you can score last hit or not. And of course, this isn't a tip you can implement every time, all the time. But if your opponent is trading aggressively in lane with you, you're not going to have time to click on a minion and focus on its HP at the top left. But at the very least, you can use this whenever you have breathing room and you aren't being pressured, and especially on the cannon minion. minions. Securing those is the equivalent of 3 last hits, so you definitely want to do everything possible to make sure you don't miss those. As simple and newbie as this tip sounds, even the very best players in the world still use it consistently. That's just how effective it is for securing those all-important cannon minions. Now, on the topic of killing minions, later on into the game, waves start dying pretty quickly to your spells. However, there is a common issue that we notice a lot of newer players dealing with. Settings guides all over YouTube, and including our very own, will often recommend to newer players that they should quick cast their abilities. If you haven't done this yet, we would recommend doing so here in the settings. Basically, it just makes it so you don't have to press an ability and then left click for it to go off. Instead, your spell's going to go off immediately after pressing the initial keybind. This is quite important in League as it allows you to combo abilities a whole lot faster. But we found that newer players often suffer a huge issue when using quick casting, particularly around minion waves. Most champions have 1, maybe 2 spells that deal area of effect damage, which allows them to clear waves. But if you quick cast your spell, you might misplace it, not hitting all of the wave. Now it's going to take you forever to kill all those minions, which can significantly reduce your ability to help your team at fights or objectives. In League, you're going to be interacting with minions a whole lot, so you definitely don't want to be slow at clearing waves, or you're going to spend a lot of time doing a whole lot of doing. And so you want to make sure you have both a quick cast keybind for your spells, but also a normal cast one. Typically, players are going to use a shift modifier so they can use the normal cast version when needed. Now, as you can see, this lets you line up your spells perfectly, allowing you to clear those minions quickly. Now you're going to have way more time to join up with your team and enjoy the fun parts of the game. There's a wide variety of spells in League which will interact with minion waves in a bunch of different ways, so using normal cast is extremely important, particularly on mages who are a bit more ability focused than other classes. Now, for our all-important final tip, let's talk about vision. Your trinket gives you periodic wards, which are important for lighting up the map with information. The problem is, these are limited, so you want to get the most value possible out of each and every ward. You want to be able to consistently spot potential threats coming your way, so you're caught off guard less and less often. So here's the tip. Try not to mindlessly place your wards. An extremely important concept you want to keep in mind is that you want to place them in areas with high traffic and where you can scout multiple paths. For example, if you're a mid laner, putting your ward in the brush beside you is kind of mediocre. You're only going to see enemy champions if they come through specifically in that area of the map. It's still useful and we'll give you that, but we can absolutely do better than this. We'll just give you some of the best ward locations in the game here so you always know how to get the most out of your trinket cooldown. You're going to notice that the areas that we do recommend cover multiple different paths enemy players can take, giving you the highest chance of spotting them. One of the best wards you can place is around the Raptor camp. Any one of these 4 locations are going to do, it just kind of depends on what you feel you can get away with safely. Enemy junglers path through here consistently, and you're going to notice that there's a lot of different paths to take in the area, so your ward is going to both spot them and tell you where they're going to go next. Remember that every ward we're going to discuss here is simply just mirrored if you're playing red side. There's no difference whatsoever. The next is these 2 wards deep in the enemy's jungle, near their wolf and blue buff camps. Make sure you place this one just a little bit further up in the brush so it spots players going this way. Now, typically you can't place these all the time as they're quite deep in the enemy's jungle. The safer versions you can place are here and here. Now, both of these will usually spot enemy champions coming back out onto the map as well, so don't feel too bad if you can't get the deeper versions that we mentioned before. If you want vision of the other side of the jungle, then this deep Raptor ward that we've seen before is good, as well as this one right over here. But if you can't get those, then this Raptor ward we discussed earlier is way more than fine. And finally, one of the best wards in the game is one that you can only place after you've destroyed the first mid lane tower. Place it a little past the remnants of the tower, outside of the range of the second one. In League, players tend to gravitate and path toward mid lane quite a lot. If left alive, this ward's going to give your team a ton of information, and you should look to place it whenever possible. Now, of course, any area where your ward will spot multiple pathways from your opponent is more than fine. Just make sure you're actively thinking about where you place your wards and not just autopilot putting them down where they won't get much value. And that right there is a wrap on our 7 super easy tips to immediately apply as a beginner in League. Remember, if you really want to get into the groove of this game fast with a course dedicated to teaching players who are actually new to the game, then check us out over at Skillcapped. We promise you we can get you comfortable playing League in no time. A discount link to our site is below, and other than that, we'll see you next time.
Okay, that was a good video, but I will have to watch it more than once. But as it's been more than half an hour, guys, I have to start playing. Otherwise, I won't have time to play the how do you say, the daily game. Yeah. I wouldn't have time. I won't have time to play the daily game if I keep watching videos. But I love this one. Like there's some things I can practice here. For example, this thing that is basically kiting, which I knew already, but I don't practice it at all. Maybe I should. Also watching how much damage do I deal to minions to make sure I can last hit them. It's something I also knew, but I don't know. I never use those things. Maybe I should now that I'm learning. And once I get used to it, then I can just don't pay attention to that. But for now, I think it's a good tip. Oh, and also the settings. I didn't know the things He mentions about was it this video or the other one?
and you aren't being pressured, and especially on the cannon minions. Securing those is the equivalent. Recommend to newer players that they should quick cast their abilities. If you haven't done this yet, we would recommend doing so here in the settings. Basically, it just makes it so you don't have to press an ability and then left click for it to go off. Instead, your spell's going to go off immediately after pressing the initial keybind wave, so it's much easier to score last hits late in the game. But in lane, you're typically trying to secure each minion with your auto attack or a weak spell. To make this more consistent, pay attention to how much damage you're dealing with. So as for our next tip, it's going to make your movement even more fluid combined with attack moving. What you want to do is cancel the wind down animation of your auto attacks. You can think of your autos in 3 separate input another animation. Now something to note is that this timing changes based on your attack speed. So in this example, progresses, reliable income in league. And to put it into perspective, on average, 15. So as for our next tip, it's going to make your movement even more fluid combined with attack movement. What you want to do is cancel the wind down animation of your auto attacks. You can think of your autos in 3 separate parts. The wind up animation, where your champion begins the auto attack, then the actual auto animation going off, and then the wind down, where your champion kind of just resets their weapon. This final animation is completely useless. All you need to know is that right after your auto attack goes off, you should input another movement command to cancel the wind down, letting you begin moving a whole lot faster. This sounds way more complicated than it really is. All you're doing is auto attacking and then immediately trying to move backwards. Now we suggest going to the training tool and getting a feel for this. Champions with high amounts of attack speed definitely benefit from mastering this concept along with attack movement. And as you can see, your champion will seem much more fluid to play by canceling that wind down animation. Now something to note is that this timing changes based on your attack speed. So in this example, Trundle's W ability places a field on the ground, giving him a ton of attack speed while it's active. You can see that as it ran out, he ended up messing up the timing on an auto attack here. So while you're in the training pool, we definitely suggest buying various amounts of attack speed when practicing. This way you can get a better feel for how the timing is going to change as the game progresses. Trust us, this absolutely is not hard to learn either. Just spend a few minutes in the training tool and you are going to have this down in no time. So before you can even get to a new fight to use all these new skills though, you need to power through the laning phase, which involves obviously killing minions, and a lot of them. And probably the single most beneficial skill any new player can learn is being a bit more consistent in scoring the last hits on every minion. Minion gold is by far your most reliable income in league. And to put it into perspective, on average, 15 minions is about a kill worth of gold. So if you find that you're mistiming the last hit on minions, then you're throwing tons of gold down the drain, and you need to listen up to our following tip. So later into the game, your spells do tend to destroy waves, so it's much easier to score last hits late in the game. But in lane, you're typically trying to secure each minion with your auto attack or a weak spell. To make this more consistent, pay attention to how much damage you're dealing with your autos or abilities. Keep those numbers in mind at all times. Then on last hits that you're going to be unsure about, you want to left click a minion to open up their information panel on the top left. What most players do is eyeball it and try to guess when they should last hit. But with this panel, you can wait for the minion to drop below the health threshold of your auto or spell. This way you're going to know for certain whether you can score last hit or not. And of course, this isn't a tip you can implement every time, all the time. But if your opponent is trading aggressively in lane with you, you're not going to have time to click on a minion and focus on its HP at the top left. But at the very least, you can use this whenever you have breathing room and you aren't being pressured, and especially on the cannon minions. Securing those is the equivalent of 3 last hits, so you definitely want to do everything possible to make sure you don't miss those. As simple and newbie as this tip sounds, even the very best players in the world still use it consistently. That's just how effective it is for securing those all-important cannon minions. Now, on the topic of killing minions, later on into the game, waves start dying pretty quickly to your spells. However, there is a common issue that we notice a lot of newer players dealing with. Settings guides all over YouTube, and including our very own, will often recommend to newer players that they should quick cast their abilities. If you haven't done this yet, we would recommend doing so here in the settings. Basically, it just makes it so you don't have to press an ability and then left click for it to go off. Instead, your spell's going to go off immediately after pressing the initial keybind. This is quite important in League as it allows you to combo abilities a whole lot faster. But we found that newer players often suffer a huge issue when using quick casting, particularly around minion waves. Most champions have 1, maybe 2 spells that deal area of effect damage, which allows them to clear waves. But if you quick cast your spell, you might misplace it, not hitting all of the wave. Now it's going to take you forever to kill all those minions, which can significantly reduce your ability to help your team at fights or objectives. In League, you're going to be interacting with minions a whole lot, so you definitely don't want to be slow at clearing waves. You're going to spend a lot of time doing a whole lot of doing. And so you want to make sure you have both a quick cast keybind for your spells, but also a normal cast one. Typically, players are going to use a shift modifier so they can use the normal cast version when needed. Now, as you can see, this lets you line up your spells perfectly, allowing you to clear those minions quickly. Now you're going to have way more time to join up with your team and enjoy the fun parts of the game. There's a wide variety of spells in League which will interact with minion waves in a bunch of different ways, so using normal cast is extremely important, particularly on mages who are a bit more ability focused than other classes. Now, for our all-important final tip.
Well, I don't know where those settings things work, but I check them all the time.
30 segundos para los súbditos.
Oh my god, he didn't buy. I think I have time. I shouldn't lose any minion. I could have bought potions and a pink one, but I got nervous because I didn't want to use too much farm. If I had been faster, I wouldn't have lost so many minions.
Ha muerto un enemigo.
What?
Ha muerto un enemigo. Ha muerto un aliado. Ha muerto un aliado.
Con alguien que no sea yo misma, pero se me da muy bien hablar. El ojo que busca el camino fácil está cerrado para siempre.
un enemigo. Tu equipo ha destruido una torreta.
Algo bueno va a ocurrir. ¡Detrás, chiquita! Pero creo que me gustaría.
Ha muerto un aliado. Tu equipo ha destruido una torreta.
Necesita más unicornios.
Se acabó. Ha muerto un enemigo.
Oh, I didn't have the attack.
Ha muerto un enemigo.
Debería pensar un juego nuevo.
No. Oh.
Ha destruido una torreta. destruido una torreta.
¡Yo sé! ¡Pastel de chocolate y fresa! La luz estelar es algo infinitamente que arde por sí mismo.
Nuestra torreta ha sido destruida. Ha muerto un aliado.
El tiempo es como una ola. Todo lo que te da, te lo quita. Un nuevo juego empieza al anochecer. El prilejo nunca.
Ha muerto un enemigo.
Nadie que sea libre teme una...
Ha muerto un enemigo.
Pasito a pasito y ahora un saltito.
Racha de asesinatos. Tu equipo ha destruido una torreta. Tu equipo ha destruido un inhibidor. Tu equipo ha destruido una torreta. Tu equipo ha destruido. Bienvenidos a la grieta del invocador. 30 segundos para los súbditos. Se han generado súbditos. Una torreta del equipo rojo ha sido destruida. Una torreta del equipo rojo ha sido destruida.
No hay escapatoria.
Vaya, qué intenso.
Ha sido destruida. Una torreta del equipo rojo ha sido destruida.
¡Chispeante!
Sediento de destrucción.
¡Nanay! ¡Ni se te ocurra! ¡Cae!
torreta del equipo azul ha sido destruida.
Aprovecha tus emociones.
Una torreta del equipo azul ha sido destruida.
By the way, I know I'm muted the whole time. It's just because I'm not talking, because I'm focused, and I just want to learn because I've been talking a lot lately in every video, and I don't need that. I'm not here to entertain, as I said on day one. So it's just that I'm focused, and I want to actually be learning. So yeah, sorry for not talking, but honestly, if I have to be honest, I don't care. So yeah, it's not. I don't mean to be rude or anything, but I don't care. Probably nobody's gonna watch me anyways. This is just for me to record my progress because I want to, and that's it. So yeah, hopefully I never talk so much again, because I think it distracts me, and I spend more time here like learning and everything and playing than I should. So yeah, thank you. I'm happy that today I didn't talk so much. So yeah, I just wanted to clarify that to whoever is watching me. Okay, if somebody ever watches me. So yeah, so I mute myself and keep learning, and yeah.
Una torreta del equipo azul ha sido destruida. Una torreta del equipo rojo ha sido destruida.
you can't exit from this or what? It's like Camille's ultimate or something.
Jugar al escondite.
Yo soy el rayo.
¡Ella sigue conmigo!
Una torreta del equipo rojo ha sido destruida. Una torreta del equipo rojo ha sido destruida.
¿Estás lista?
Here I flashed because I was like, can I flash and bring Kain with myself if when he's inside me with his ultimate? And I think that I can, but I flashed too late anyway, so I couldn't test it. But I think you can. Obviously I didn't need to flash here. Kain is so weak here. We are 4 against him, so yeah, I just wanted to try that. I'm thinking about if I'm 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 doing well here. Like, should I be in somewhere else? I don't think I should be here, obviously, because this is so pushed. In here, maybe, but I cannot be pushing this, having the enemy team so close. Like they will be behind me, and I would be alone. Okay, I think it was coming, but if I had been here before, I would have died already because the enemy was here, you know. And Singed was on top, so there was no farm here because Singed took it. So I was like in that time, so I guess I had time. I had free time to team fight. No, it's probably a stupid fight, but it's either I help here or farm the jungle, which is so hard for me as Zoe. So where else should I have been? I'm not gonna be fighting Zoe here. I can't. She will kill me, and she's so far away from me. So here I knew I was like, okay, I was thinking, where should I be farming? But as I had no choice, I think I was like, okay, I'm in my dead time, so I'm just gonna help my teammate rather than do nothing, you know.
Con premura.
Ha sido destruido.
I don't know. I think this was a decent game, I guess. My farm wasn't so good, but it wasn't so bad neither. For my level, it wasn't so bad, I think. But I obviously want to have the same farm as day 4, I think it was, that I had like 9 minions per minute. I loved that game. But it's just that I miss a lot of last hits. Maybe I take so much time roaming, and when I go back I lost 2 minions, for example, or I recall in a bad tempo, so when I go back I have lost like most of the way. So once I fix those mistakes and create the habit, I will always have good farming, I think. But I'm happy because I think I will end up uh, learning a lot and improving. But the only thing I have to do is to be focused and focus to one thing at a time, not try to apply 5 things I've learned, because I'm not gonna be able to focus the whole game to the 5 things. Like to be focusing on, okay, in this game I'm going to farm as much as possible and and I don't know, play safe like I was doing on the first days. That seemed to work. I feel like I'm trying to do more, and I end up doing less. So maybe I should be like farming, and that's it, you know. Farming in my lane, and the game will be won automatically. Like I don't have to do anything else. I was playing that way on the first days, and I won like 4 games in a row. Maybe I was just lucky, okay, but maybe I got carried, maybe, who knows. But once I wanted to do more and started roaming in, I don't know, day 5 or so, the first defeat, I think it was either day 5 or day 6, I started roaming because I wanted to kill more people. I want not kill more people, but I wanted to feel more productive, more useful, and I end up dying and not farming, and killing is not so important. Maybe I just have to farm in lane, and whenever I have the opportunity, naturally, like it comes to me or something, then I kinda roam and try to kill somebody. Like that time Heimerdinger came to me more or less on the river, which ended up bad because I died. But I don't know, I guess, yeah, I don't know, it was unlucky or not unlucky, but I don't know, risky, I guess. But yeah, I can't wait to tomorrow because I want to keep learning, and yeah, I think I am doing good. I shouldn't be pressuring myself to do more and more each day. These days, when I didn't know how to play, well, I don't know how to play yet, okay, but I'm learning a lot of things. I was like playing so safe and so patiently, and I won by doing nothing. I didn't die almost any game, so I don't know, maybe I was just lucky or something, but it seemed to be working. So yeah, that's it for today. See you tomorrow. Bye.